An update tonight on the mysterious attacks targeting American diplomats in Cuba. There is new information, but not necessarily a clearer picture.
CBS News correspondent Steve Dorsey has been investigating the story from the beginning, and he has the latest from the University of Miami doctors who have been treating the victims.
These are the U.S. doctors that first treated and diagnosed U.S. diplomats from Cuba nearly 18 months ago. The diplomats came from the U.S. Embassy in Havana to the University of Miami complaining of noises or pressure in their ears.
Their primary complaints were of dizziness and disorientation. Some of them also complained of auditory concerns or hearing concerns.
Doctors say their findings show clear evidence that at least 25 have a problem with their inner ear. The injuries were to the vestibular system that detects gravity. Doctors say this type of injury can affect the brain.
They had objective tests that showed an abnormality. And those tests cannot be faked.
When the problems were first reported, U.S. officials suggested the Cuban government was engaging in some kind of auditory attack. The Cuban government has denied any wrongdoing. Doctors here at the University of Miami say they don't know how those injuries occurred, but that they're highly suspicious and worth further study.
When this many people present with this amount of disability, it's hard to imagine that this just arose by chance in all of these individuals.
Attorney Mark Zaid represents 8 of the patients.
They do want answers. It has been 2 years. We still don't know anything publicly.
He says some of his clients are still unable to work and others are undergoing rehabilitation.
Well, Steve Dorsey is joining us live right now from the Miller School of Medicine at the University of Miami. And Steve, you talked to the doctor who led the exam. What was his most important takeaway from the report?
Yeah, we sat down with him just a couple hours ago, Dr. Michael Hoffer, the lead study of that report, who says that he's found the inner ear to be the most traumatically injured in these 25 victims he has confirmed who suffered these bizarre sounds and pressure changes in Havana, Cuba. That caused everything from dizziness, cognitive disorders, ear pain, hearing loss, a constellation of injuries that's still baffling researchers, scientists, and the State Department.
So as you said, it's baffling all of these experts. No one yet will definitively say what caused the injuries to the diplomats. Do you think we'll ever really find out for sure?
Yeah, it's tough to know. Right now, there's another investigation going on at the State Department. There's also, of course, will likely be more scientists and doctors taking a closer look at this case. What, however, the scientists here at the University of Miami have ruled out is mass hysteria, that they imagine these symptoms. They say they believe something did happen to them. They were injured, and it could have been caused by something bizarre, like a directed energy weapon of sorts. Something like microwaves, electromagnetic pulses, or even ultrasound could be to blame.
Steve, Cuba again denied involvement, and Cuba has also complained that U.S. doctors will not cooperate with their doctors in getting to the bottom of this. And there are also theories that maybe another country may be somehow involved in this. What theories are you hearing?
Well, absolutely. That is a major issue between the U.S. and Cuba right now, with Cuba saying that doctors haven't been forthright with their own investigators trying to get to the bottom of this case going on in Havana, including at least a Canadian diplomat who was evacuated from the country just last month for similar symptoms. Now, of course, we've been hearing about similar situations going on in China, where at least one U.S. diplomatic employee at a post in Guangzhou was confirmed to have similar symptoms, and there could be more.
So what are the experts making of that? The fact that something like this happened in China, across the world, and also in Cuba, is that a coincidence?
Well, it could be related. The State Department hasn't definitively concluded that, but I tell you, I talked to that lawyer who you saw in that piece, and he raised serious concerns that these folks that he's representing in China and in Cuba are concerned that this could be going on around the world. And in fact, it could be spanning decades.
Steve, I know you've been on top of the story since the very beginning. Thank you very much for joining us tonight from the University of Miami.